youth education and outreach, and development of a variety of training materials. On the specific piece that the member just mentioned in his rebuttal, we'll certainly look into that, and I'm happy to get back to him. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Kitchener Centre.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm glad to be back again tonight, this time to raise the alarm on the need for this government to not only replenish, but to expand the Greener Homes Grant program. I'd like to start with where I expect the Parliamentary Secretary and I agree, and that is that this is a critical program. Launched in May of 2021, it provides up to $5,000 in grants for homeowners for specific upgrades, starting with a home energy evaluation, then completing a retrofit, and then a post-retrofit evaluation. These evaluations are done by charities in the Green Communities Canada network, like REEP Green Solutions in Waterloo region. And these incentives are kind of like the climate action no-brainer. They save homeowners money, they reduce emissions, they create good green jobs in completing the retrofits, and they actually pay for themselves, returning $2 to $5 for every dollar invested through increased revenue from taxation. And they've begun to work. If you compare in 2020, homeowners across the country completed almost 32,000 retrofits, and once the program was launched, that went up to almost 112,000. Now, this is where the issues begin, though, because first of all, the program itself only planned to do 700,000 retrofits, far too slowly over 7 years. At this slow pace, it would take almost, or actually more than, a century to retrofit the 11 million homes in Canada that require retrofits. Worse still, in its current form, the program only saw greenhouse gas reduction increases from 22% before the program existed to 26% afterwards. Worse still, and the reason why I asked about this in question period a few weeks ago, is that CBC is reporting that the program is running out of money 3 years too early. And organizations like REEP have been here before 3 times in the past, having to wind down popular energy efficiency incentive programs like the Greener Homes Grant program. So here's what we need, what I'm going to continue to be advocating for. First of all, sustained, predictable funding for retrofits, a clear continuation of the Greener Homes Grant program, which this government could do by putting funds in place in Budget 2024. Secondly, we need the program to keep up with inflation. The Greener Homes Grant program is modeled after a similar program that was put in place by the Harper government called Eco Energy back in 2007. It also provided $5,000. Of course, huge differences between then and now when it comes to the cost of completing retrofits. Third, and most importantly, we need to see a boost to the program for deep retrofits to get at least 50% energy savings, both through insulation, thermal efficiencies of one's home, through electrifying, and I know there's an excellent program in place for heat pumps, for example, and then possibly adding solar on top. In other jurisdictions, for example, in Ireland and Germany, grants can be up to $50,000. The Green Budget Coalition, lucky for us, has already priced it out. It would be $20 billion over 5 years to do it. Now, where can we possibly find that money? Well, I've put forward a motion that prices out what we could generate just by having a windfall profit tax on the oil and gas companies that are gouging us at the pumps, and it's just over the exact same amount. It's $4 billion a year, $4.2 billion in fact, by just applying the Canada Recovery Dividend to big oil. And so my question to the Parliamentary Secretary is that will this government, first of all, commit to continuing the Greener Homes Grant program? Will they expand it to focus on deep energy?
Secretary to the Minister of Natural Resources and Environment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I appreciate the question that was brought forward by my friend from Kitchener Centre. If we're going to be talking about things like the Greener Homes Grant, I think that, first of all, we should give a shout out to how successful it has been and how wonderful it is that we've seen so many Canadians who are interested in this program. It's actually been a tremendous success. So good to see that as one part of what we're doing to reduce emissions from buildings. But it's not the only one, and as a member opposite mentioned, we also have the oil to heat pump program, which in fact just recently was expanded. That is a really important program because it's going to help people, particularly the people with lower incomes, who are able to transition their form of energy from oil, which is not only worse for the environment, but is also very much more expensive for them on a day-to-day basis. It has more variables in its cost. They're able to then have effectively free heat pumps as part of this program, where provinces are actually working with us and setting up bilateral agreements. So the Greener Homes Grant is not the only one. There's also the oil to heat pumps. But I think we should also talk about some of the other programs that our government has worked on to help with reducing emissions from buildings. Because in fact, the built environment across our country is the third largest source of emissions in our country. So it's a really important piece to tackle. And I'm going to start with, in my home city of Toronto, the largest source of emissions is in fact our buildings. It's a bit of a surprise sometimes when I say that. So some of the other pieces and programs that we're doing, we're working with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, the FCM. They have a Green Municipal Fund that is supporting municipalities to do retrofits to buildings. For example, in Toronto, there was a tower renewal project that was recently funded that actually is going to be helping buildings for people who have lower incomes, that those buildings can be retrofitted. So it helps with affordability for the people who live in those homes, but it also is reducing emissions at the same time. It's a win-win. There are other programs as well that have been funded through the FCM to help people to get larger loans to make retrofits. In the City of Toronto, there was one of those programs through the FCM just recently. We also have programs that have been helping people to, cities to retrofit, for example, community centers and other buildings through our infrastructure department. We can take many different steps at the same time. Built environment is very large, and it's a large source of our emissions. I think it's important that we look at the totality of all of the programs that we're doing, because it is a commitment for us to take these actions.
Honourable Member for Kitchener Centre.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm a bit concerned the Parliamentary Secretary spent so much time talking about other programs this government has in place. It concerns me that I'm not hearing a commitment to continue the bare minimum. Home energy retrofits need to be incentivized by the federal government. Even the Conservatives were doing it, about 20 years ago. We need to see this government commit to continuing the Greener Homes Grant program so that homeowners can count on this funding to continue to do really critical work to retrofit their homes. And what more, if they're looking to be climate leaders, they should recapitalize it at a rate that would actually allow for deep energy retrofits that actually return more back to our economy than folks would spend. Are they going to do it?
Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And look, we've already supported hundreds of thousands of Canadians across our country in their retrofits through the Greener Homes Grant. So it is supporting affordability, it is supporting these retrofits. And as with all government programs, there's an allotted investment to support Canadians. There has been significant interest in the program, which is amazing. And I want to also highlight, just as we have this conversation, the program officials continue to welcome and to proceed.
Oh, you didn't reset.
And they will continue to do so while the funding is on the table. So the program is still there, it's still accepting applications, and we're very committed to all of the programs across the suite that support reducing emissions from our built environment.
The motion to adjourn the House is now deemed to have been adopted. Accordingly, this House stands adjourned until tomorrow at 10.